Essay number 17, What Emotionally Strong People Do Not Do. We spend so much time trying to figure out what emotionally strong people do, what habits they have, what morning routines they follow, what books they read. But what if we're looking at it backwards? What if emotional strength isn't about what you add to your life, but what you subtract from it? What if it's less about what you do and more about what you stop doing? Let me paint you a picture of emotional strength that might surprise you. It doesn't look like someone who never feels pain. It doesn't look like someone who has all the answers. It doesn't look like someone who's always confident, always positive, always in control. Actually, those people are usually the most fragile. Real emotional strength is quieter, subtler, and it starts with what these people don't do. First and most importantly, emotionally strong people don't believe that every feeling they have means something profound. This is huge. We live in a culture that's obsessed with feelings, that tells us to trust our gut, follow our heart, listen to our emotions. But emotionally strong people understand that feelings are just weather passing through. Sometimes you feel angry because you're hungry. Sometimes you feel sad because you're tired. Sometimes you feel anxious because you had too much coffee. They don't assign cosmic significance to every emotional blip. They don't think that feeling something strongly makes it true. They know that conviction and truth are two completely different things. You can feel absolutely certain about something that's completely wrong. You can feel deeply that someone hates you when they're just having a bad day. Emotionally strong people feel their feelings, but they don't worship them. Here's another thing they don't do. They're not threatened by being wrong. Think about how much energy most of us spend defending our positions, our beliefs, our choices. We act like admitting we're wrong about something means we're wrong as people. But emotionally strong people have separated their ideas from their identity. They can be wrong about something without feeling like it diminishes their worth as a human being. This is freedom. When you're not threatened by being wrong, you can actually learn. You can change your mind. You can grow. You can have real conversations instead of defensive debates. You can say, I don't know, or I was wrong, or you've got a point, without feeling like you're losing something essential about yourself. But here's where it gets interesting. While they don't worship their feelings, they also don't use logic to deny them. They don't tell themselves they shouldn't feel something if they do. They don't try to argue themselves out of emotions. They acknowledge what they feel without either inflating it or dismissing it. They can say, I'm feeling jealous, without either justifying the jealousy or beating themselves up for it. They just notice it, acknowledge it, and then decide what to do about it. Emotionally strong people don't project meaning onto everything they see and hear. This is exhausting, but most of us do it constantly. Someone doesn't text back immediately, they must be mad at us. Someone succeeds at something, they must be showing off. Someone posts a photo, it must be directed at us somehow. We're the protagonist of reality and everything else is about us. But emotionally strong people understand that most things have nothing to do with them. That person who didn't text back, they're busy living their own life. That success story, it's someone else's journey, not a commentary on yours. They don't compare themselves to others because they understand that comparison requires the absurd assumption that everyone started from the same place with the same resources heading toward the same destination. Here's something that might surprise you. Emotionally strong people don't need to prove their power. We often think of strength as something that needs to be displayed, demonstrated, proven. But real strength doesn't need to announce itself. Emotionally strong people don't walk around trying to dominate every room, win every argument, or prove they're the toughest person around. Their disposition is predominantly peaceful, at ease. They have nothing to prove because they're not trying to convince anyone of anything, including themselves. They don't avoid pain, even when they're afraid of it. This doesn't mean they're masochists who seek out suffering. It means they understand that the discomfort isn't in the pain itself, it's in the avoiding. The anxiety about the difficult conversation is worse than the conversation. The dread of the workout is worse than the workout. the fear of the breakup is worse than the breakup. They choose to move through discomfort rather than around it because they know that's where growth lives. When someone else succeeds, emotionally strong people don't immediately start pointing out that person's flaws. You know this move. Someone shares good news and the response is, "Yeah, but," followed by some observation about their failures or shortcomings. This isn't insight or honesty. It's insecurity. Emotionally strong people can celebrate others' wins without feeling like it diminishes their own worth. They don't complain excessively. Now, some complaining is normal, even healthy, but chronic complaining is something else. It's a request for validation, for others to recognize and confirm our pain. Emotionally strong people don't need others to constantly validate their struggles. They can experience difficulty without needing everyone to know about it, acknowledge it, and affirm that yes, things are indeed hard for them. They don't catastrophize by filtering out all the positive aspects of an experience and focusing only on the negative. They don't jump from A to Z, immediately imagining the worst possible outcome of every situation. People who do this usually don't trust themselves to handle unexpected challenges, so they try to prepare for every possible disaster. But emotionally strong people trust their ability to deal with whatever comes. They don't need to pre-suffer every possible future pain. Here's a big one. Emotionally strong people don't keep a mental list of things everyone should or shouldn't do. They don't have a universal code of conduct that they expect everyone to follow. They understand that right and wrong are often subjective, contextual, cultural. What's right for them might be wrong for someone else. What works in their life might be disaster in another's. They can have their own values without insisting everyone else share them. They don't appoint themselves as judges of what's right or wrong for other people. When friends come to them with problems, they don't assume their solution is the solution. They can offer perspective without insisting it's the only valid one. They can share their experience without believing it's universal. They understand that advice is just sharing what worked for you, not prescribing what must work for everyone. They don't draw general conclusions about all of humanity based on their limited personal experience. They don't think all men are one way because of the 3 men they've dated. They don't think all workplaces are toxic because they've had 2 bad jobs. They understand that their experience, while valid, is just one tiny slice of the human experience. They can learn from their experiences without thinking their experiences teach them everything. Emotionally strong people don't change their personality based on who they're around. They don't have a work self, a family self, a friend self, a dating self. Not completely different versions that would be unrecognizable to each other. Sure, everyone adjusts their behavior somewhat based on context, but emotionally strong people maintain their core self regardless of the audience. They've chosen authenticity over acceptance, and ironically, found more genuine acceptance because of it. They can stand up for themselves without being aggressive or defensive. This sounds like a contradiction, but it's not. Aggression and defensiveness actually come from insecurity, from feeling threatened, from needing to protect something fragile. But when you're emotionally strong, you can calmly state your boundaries, express your needs, disagree with someone, all without attacking or defending. You're not fighting because there's nothing to fight about. You're just being clear. Finally, emotionally strong people don't assume that their current situation is permanent. When they're in pain, they don't believe they'll be in pain forever. When they're happy, they don't desperately cling to it. They understand that feelings are temporary, that circumstances change, that life is in constant motion. This doesn't make them pessimistic when things are good, or falsely optimistic when things are bad. It makes them present, able to fully experience what's happening without the added suffering of believing it will never end or never come again. Here's what all of this adds up to. Emotional strength isn't about feeling less or caring less or being less human. It's about not doing the extra stuff that makes life harder than it needs to be. It's about not creating additional suffering on top of the inevitable pain of being human. It's about not fighting battles that don't need to be fought. Most of us exhaust ourselves with all these unnecessary mental and emotional gymnastics. We're constantly assigning meaning, taking things personally, defending ourselves, catastrophizing, judging, comparing, proving, avoiding. We're so busy doing all of this that we don't have energy left for actually living. Emotionally strong people have figured out that most of these battles are optional, that most of what we stress about is self-created, that most of our suffering comes not from what happens to us, but from all the extra stuff we do in response to what happens to us. They've learned to stop doing what doesn't serve them, to stop fighting what doesn't matter, to stop creating problems where none exist, to stop taking responsibility for everyone else's emotions while ignoring their own, to stop believing every thought, following every feeling, accepting every story their mind creates. This isn't about becoming cold or disconnected or uncaring. It's about becoming clear. Clear about what's yours to carry and what isn't. Clear about what's real and what's projection. Clear about what matters and what's just noise. The path to emotional strength isn't about adding more strategies, more tools, more techniques. It's about subtracting, letting go, stopping. It's about doing less of what weakens you so you have more energy for what actually matters. So maybe instead of asking yourself what else you need to do to become emotionally stronger, ask yourself what you need to stop doing. What meanings are you assigning that you could drop? What battles are you fighting that you could walk away from? What stories are you telling that you could stop believing? Because emotional strength isn't about becoming more, it's about carrying less. And that's something you can start doing, or rather stop doing, right now.